I just try to remember that it's not all about work and you don't have to work 18-hour days and you don't have to hustle, 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 grind, grind, grind in order to be successful. Where do you want to focus your efforts and have a work-life balance?
Hello, agentpreneurs, and welcome to today's episode of the Daily List Report. As you saw, we have Karin Carr back on the show today. Really excited to have her back. She's been on twice before. We did an episode called Capture Leads Through a YouTube Channel and How to Create a Booming YouTube Studio. This was actually not long after she got her current setup. Lots of great advice. She's very passionate about leveraging YouTube for agents to drive business, and she's really an expert at this. Couple things real quick. First is she's got actually two YouTube channels. She's got Georgia Coast Homes by Karin Carr. Great following, really good content. We're going to talk about that content in a separate episode. And she's also got her own channel, Karin Carr. All those links are below, so please give her a subscribe and a bell and a like and a comment and all of the things that we need to do to grow our channels. And of course, while you're here, if you love getting advice and best practices and tips from great agents across the country, please consider subscribing to this channel and also click that little bell. We're also doing something new. About 6 weeks ago, set up a new Instagram account, also sharing some clips from these shows on IGTV. So if you're short on time, give me a follow at Instagram at Randy Shiozaki. So without further ado, let's bring Karin on. Karin, your Instagram, what is it again?
It's YouTube for agents. It's the most pathetic
YouTube
Instagram page you've ever
agents.
seen in your life.
It's okay. It's okay. You know, it's so interesting, right? It's hard to focus on all of these platforms. And I see people with like great YouTube and not great Instagram, or great Instagram and terrible YouTube. There's a lot to do. So you got to pick your poison, right?
Absolutely. I am a firm believer in pick the platform that you like the best and dominate it rather than try to be on all of the platforms and be mediocre on all of them.
I think it's great advice. Karin, you're here today again. Thank you for your time. And we're continuing a new series that we're doing. We're calling it A Day in the Life. And so we're featuring top agents, new agents, social media agents, you name it. So really excited to talk to you today. For those of you who don't remember you, Karin, why don't you give a quick background on who you are, what you do, and where you're located?
I am a realtor in Savannah, Georgia. I have been licensed since 2005, but I moved a lot. So every time I had to move, I had to figure out how to get clients all over again. I finally discovered YouTube in 2017, and I have never looked back. That is my primary method of lead generation. In June of 2017, I decided to make one YouTube video a week. Within a year, I was so busy, I went to my broker and said, I need to form a team. My hair is on fire. I have now expanded into 3 other markets, and I have a team of 6 people now serving Savannah, Hilton Head, Augusta, and now Atlanta.
That's amazing. Congratulations. You know, Karin, one of the things that I always really, and to this day, admire about you is, like you said, you moved around a lot. And I got to think, for a real estate agent, that is the scariest thing in the world, because you've built relationships, you've built a reputation. How in the world do you go into a new market and get known? That's really challenging.
Yep. It was really hard because, especially in the South, I find that people have lived here their entire lives. So these people that are extremely well known, people have known them since they were little kids. They've lived here for 40, 50 years, and they have tons of name recognition, and they go to church with these people, and they go to the country club with these people. And to come in as an outsider and try to break into that market, it was very challenging. So I thought, well, if I create a YouTube channel and I am attracting people who are moving here from somewhere else, they don't already know all of those real estate agents. So I can attract a cold audience, if you will, who is just beginning to do their research online, and they don't already know 15 realtors here in the area. I could go after those people instead. And that turned out to be a really great strategy.
Absolutely. And we're going to talk about that specifically on a future episode. I'm really excited to dive into some of that local content, how you scale that, and how you have scaled that with the team that you now have. But today we're going to talk about a day in the life of Karin Carr. So, you know, I had a guest on a while ago, Camille Rose. We've done a series together, and she has this really great thing. She says you should start every day with something for the body, with something for the brain, and something for the business. And I thought it was a really great way to anchor kind of a day. But I want to hear from you. How do you start your day? You know, you are heavily influenced in a sense by social media, and that's where you generate most of your leads. So your day probably looks a little bit different than maybe your average agent.
Yeah, it kind of does. I am a huge believer in mindset, and what you think becomes your reality. So when I wake up in the morning, I don't check my email first thing. I am a slave to coffee. So I usually go make myself a little cappuccino and I'll read a book. And it's not necessarily a business book, it's just a novel, just something to have, half an hour of me time, of peace and quiet before the kids get up and have to go to school and all that kind of stuff. And then I would start listening to podcasts or YouTube videos that are more about growing your business, your mindset, getting your head in the right space. And it was funny. I had been listening to a business podcast where James Wedmore has this podcast called the Mind Your Business podcast. And I was listening to him, gosh, probably a year ago. He was talking about how he had an infrared sauna. And I thought, what the heck is an infrared sauna? So I Googled it and it said it's a sauna with infrared rays and it helps heal muscles, heal injuries. And at the time, I happened to have a bad shoulder. I had tweaked my shoulder when my husband and I were remodeling our investment property. It never really healed. It just hurt. Every time I raised my arm, it hurt. So when we moved to our new house in November, we had this big empty area where I thought, you know what, we could put a hot tub there or we could put an infrared sauna there. And they were not nearly as expensive as I expected them to be. So I bought one on Amazon. I had it delivered to the house and I put it in there. So my favorite thing now is to go into the infrared sauna at like 6 a.m. I will pull up a meditation video. It's not really a video. It's like an audio, but it has something pretty to look at while you're listening to it from YouTube. And I just sit in the sauna and I listen to this and I watch the sun come up and I just try to get my head into the space of today is going to be a good day. I don't let things control me. I am in charge of how my day is going to go because it's too easy to be in this reactive state of something happened and craziness ensued and then blah. And the next thing you know, we're running around like a chicken with our head cut off and we get all stressed out. And instead, if you can try to center yourself and make it more where it doesn't matter what happens today. All I need to do is, take a couple of deep breaths and I'm going to be able to handle it and we will deal with it as best as we can and life will move on. And at the end of the day, it's not like, oh my God, it was such a stressful day. I had to crack open a bottle of wine and chug the whole thing. I want it to instead be like, yes, stuff happened, but it was okay. So that's my favorite thing. I go in there in the morning with my meditation music for maybe 20 minutes or so, just to kind of start my day on a good note of, this is my intention for the day. This is how I want it to go.
I love that. And whatever it is, right? If it's reading the news or your emails or your text messages or your social media, I really like the idea of getting up, not starting there. Like you said, maybe getting your coffee or in your case, getting into the infrared sauna and really starting your day centered. It sounds like that's a great approach.
Yeah, and I definitely avoid the news like the plague. Oh my gosh, if you read the news, you would think that there was nothing good in the world happening ever and that, we've got one foot in the grave right now. So I really spend very little time reading the news.
Absolutely.
It's too depressing.
It is. It honestly is. And you're clearly an earlier riser, right? So different people have different schedules, but you're up by 6 a.m. every day. Is that right?
Yeah, my little boy has to leave for school at 6:50, so I usually am up by 5:45, which is crazy, but now I've been doing it for so many years that I've just trained myself, and so, like, I can't stay up late. I can't stay up till 11 o'clock at night anymore. Usually, I'm in bed by 10. It's ridiculous that I feel like such an old lady, but I truly early to bed, early to rise has just been the nature of my life for the past 10 years or so.
That's great. Okay, so you're up. So now what are we at? 7 o'clock, right? You've had your infrared sauna time. You've had your coffee. Your boy's out the door. What comes next?
Then I get ready for the day and then I go hit the office. First I have to feed the chickens because we did move to a house out of the country. And last weekend we got 6 chickens. So I go out, I feed the chickens. I check to see if there are eggs. There are none because apparently moving to a new location is traumatic for them. And I'm like, come on, ladies, it's been 10 days already. Give me an egg. No eggs yet. So then I come up to the office, which is above my garage. It's just the spare bedroom in my house, which I made my home office.
And your YouTube studio, right? It's a dual-purpose room.
Oh, yeah. So it is my home office, but it is also my filming space. So we film our YouTube videos in here. And like you said, I have two channels. I have a channel for consumers that want to buy or sell a house in this area. And then I have a channel for agents who want to learn how to do bit video and use video as a lead gen strategy.
Yeah.
So if it's a filming day, I get all the camera equipment set up back here and I film a couple of videos. I'm a firm believer in, if you're going to get ready for the camera, don't film one video, film 3 or 4, like make it worth your time
Yeah.
and get ready one time, film 4 and be done for the whole month. So if it's a filming day, it'll probably take me an hour and a half, maybe 2 hours, but I will knock out a whole bunch of videos. So now I don't have to do it again for a month. And if it's
Smart.
not a filming day, I get to the computer, I check the email. I am trying also not to be a slave to email because, I can I can get into that inbox and man, I look up and 4 hours has gone by. So the best thing I have done recently was hire a virtual assistant who manages my email and my calendar. And she created a folder that says daily important emails. So when I log into my email account, all I do is go straight to that folder and I answer the emails in that folder. She handles everything else or deletes all of the spam. So now instead of spending hours a day answering email, it takes me probably 15 minutes in the morning and 15 minutes in the afternoon. And that has been a godsend.
So glad you brought this up, Karen, because I think that people don't realize how much time they lose doing these things that frankly aren't the highest and best use of their time, right? And that's all that we have. And it's really, we don't have to get into how much you're paying, but it's really relatively inexpensive when you think about how you value your own time. You don't have to be a top 1% agent to be able to afford a virtual assistant. And my goodness, it buys you back hours per day, doesn't it?
Yes, it certainly does. It's so funny. I was listening to a podcast this morning with Marky Lemons Ryle, and I forget who her guest was, but this woman was saying, she was talking about how to form a team. And she said that these tasks are below your pay grade.
That's right.
Like checking your email is below your pay grade. You need to hire that out to somebody for $5 an hour or less. I mean, if you're getting them in the Philippines, that's about what the going rate is. So $5 an hour is pretty typical. And would you pay yourself $5 an hour to do anything? You better not be. You better be making $100 an hour, $200, $300 an hour. You are the CEO of your company.
That's right.
You are the one doing all of the dollar producing activities. Checking email is not one of those activities.
Absolutely. Awesome. Okay, so now you've started your day fresh. You got your mindset in the right place. You've had your breakfast, your coffee, you've gotten ready. You've gotten to your inbox, and your inbox is all organized and clean for you, so you know exactly what you have to do. What else would you do in a typical day, Karen?
Once a week, we have a team meeting over Zoom. So now that I have a bunch of agents, we get on Zoom. We talk about what is our content calendar, who is making what video, are you having any challenges with it? Do you need any tips and advice? If somebody has a transaction that's really challenging, it's all going south, they need to brainstorm that sort of thing. We talk about marketing activities and anything else that we need to do to make sure that we are bringing as many inbound leads as possible, because that's kind of my philosophy. I don't buy leads. I don't require that my agents cold call or door knock or be out there hammering on the phones and trying to drum up business. Instead, we create content that draws people to us. So all of our leads, 100% of our leads are inbound, unless it's Nicole's husband's coworker wants to buy a house. And even that's inbound. She wasn't, door knocking to find that person. So we are always trying to think of what can we do to bring more leads into the business so that everybody is staying busy and making the kind of money that they want to make. And if we come up with a great idea for a video series, we do that. We just talk about what content on our YouTube channel is drawing in the most people, and how can we make more content like that, since we already know that it's effective and it's working.
That's really important, right? Because what you're saying, and you said this before when we were talking about Instagram, is that you've chosen your platform. Your platform is YouTube, right? And you've said, look, we are not going to door knock. We're not going to cold call. This is our singular source. And so that allows you to really focus on the metrics, the numbers, the performance and all of that, right? So I think that makes a lot of sense. as you go through your day, you have these team meetings. It sounds like you also communicate on Slack. So for those of you out there who are not familiar, Slack is it's like an instant messaging tool, right? We use it within our company. You can create channels. In your case, maybe you create channels for specific deals, right? You can organize a lot of things in Slack. Has that been a distraction or a meaningful way to communicate? Because sometimes Slack can be overloading.
Well, it's a relatively new thing for us. We implemented it about a month ago, but the problem I was having was I would have a conversation with one of my agents about, I don't know, a specific deal. And then I couldn't remember, was it in a text message? Was it through email? Was it in Facebook Messenger? So we said if we use Slack exclusively to communicate with each other, then I will always know where to find a record of that
Good
conversation.
point.
So we had channels created that were real estate transactions. If somebody needs video footage shot for them, we have hired a videographer. And so if I need B-roll taken of downtown Savannah in the historic district, I can put it in there and say, hey, Dallas, we need you to go shoot some stuff. Um, Content ideas, upcoming vacations, team, not meetings, like I don't know, celebrations. Like we won a big
Yeah.
award for production. And so we all need to go out and have like a girls' day at the spa. And that's what we chose to do as a way to celebrate our accomplishments. And everybody gets a day off where we don't have to be moms and we don't have to be, running around and driving the kids
Absolutely.
to daycare and all the stuff. Like we're going to go get massages and make this an awesome day and stuff like that. So we're trying to do it all through Slack. It's a learning curve. We're having to make that a habit. And it's still so tempting to fall back onto text messages. And I have to remind everybody, like, hey, go put this question in Slack if you don't mind so that I can refer to it later. But
Yeah.
once it becomes habit for us, I think it's going to be really great.
I think that's true. And I think it's a good reminder, everybody watching right now, is that, why did you choose Slack? Well, you chose Slack because, as you said, you had things in email, things in text message. There were things that were all over the place, right? You really wanted to streamline that because that's a more efficient use of everyone's time. I can tell you, as Slack users now for almost 6 years since they started the company, it can
Wow.
get really sophisticated. We have data integrations and product integrations into Slack that notify us of various things. We have channels for various projects. There's lots of really cool stuff that you can do there. So
Yep.
awesome. So you've had your team meetings and all of that. Tell me about how you get through your afternoon and your evening, and are you someone who turns off the clock at night so that you can recenter, or what does the rest of your day look like?
Well, I usually knock off for the day at around 3:30 because that's when I have to go do the school run and go pick the kids up. When we moved to our new house, we do not have school buses that service our neighborhood. So we have to go get the kids. And my older one has her learner's permit, but she can't drive without me or my husband in the front seat with her. So somebody's got to go get the kids from school. Then when we get home, it's time to figure out dinner and do all of that stuff. And then later, I really don't watch much TV. So I find myself getting back on my laptop and doing stuff like messing around in Canva and trying to, I don't know, come up with slides or graphics or content ideas. I like to review what's working on the YouTube channel. I go and look at the analytics. So I do tend to do stuff in the evenings as well, just because I stopped in the middle of the afternoon to go get the kids, and then I kind of resume in the evening a little bit, but not because I feel like I have to and I'm a slave to my job, just because I would rather do that than watch TV.
Yeah. No, that makes sense. And isn't that the beauty of this business that we're in, is that you can really craft a schedule that works for your life, whether it's picking up the kids or working out or I don't know, whatever. I saw an agent recently who basically just travels the world. She's like a remote agent. Like, you can build the life that you want, I think is the point. That's what's so great about real estate, isn't it?
Oh, I love it. I love to travel. I love to see new places. It kills me that we have not been able to travel so much for the
I
last
know.
year. And as soon as we can resume that, bam, I am on it because I just love to go new places. And everything that we do these days, other than actually showing a house, can pretty much be done from a remote location. So we might as well take advantage of it.
I couldn't agree more. We're all used to this. And that's what makes this so easy and so nice, Karen, right? We can just hop on the camera, we can have a conversation, we can put it on YouTube, and we can give value to all of the agents out there who frankly need help, and are looking for some leadership. So, Karen, is there anything I missed in a day in the life of Karin Carr that you want to share?
There's also lots of food involved. So it's funny. One of my girlfriends loves to FaceTime me at lunchtime. So every time she calls me, I have food stuffed in my face. And she's like, do you ever stop eating? I'm like, it's because you call me at noon every time. And if you called me at a different time, I wouldn't be eating. But yes,
That's
I make sure
amazing.
that I don't, like I don't skip meals because I get too busy.
Yeah.
I make sure that I got to take care of me as well. Like you can't let yourself get, I have a real good friend who will work herself to the bone until she gets so run down, she gets sick and she'll be sick for a month. And it's like awful, awful going to the doctor, being put on antibiotics. Then she'll recover and she'll do it all over again. And I'm like, you need to learn this lesson. You've got to take care of yourself. You can't live that way. You need to take better care of yourself. And I'm a firm believer in boundaries with clients. Like, I do not answer my phone at 10 o'clock at night. No.
Yeah.
If you do it, you're just teaching them that it's okay for them to call you at 10 o'clock at night. And then one day when you get mad and say, stop calling me, they're going to say, well, why? All the times that I've called you have been at 10 o'clock at night and you answer. Like, we need to have some priorities and say, these are the hours that I work. If you call me after that, I'm going to return your call the next day. There is nothing wrong with saying what your hours are and what you will agree to. I don't think that we need to be at our beck and call, that when our clients snap our fingers, that we should just jump to answer their call. I mean, those people that say, you're a real estate agent, you have to answer your phone all of the time. I'm like, I'm sorry, I do not put one person on hold to answer the next person. I think it's
Yeah.
incredibly rude. It's saying, you're not valuable enough to me. I got to go take this other call who might be more worthwhile to me. I don't do that. You can go to voicemail and I'll call you back when I'm done. And if it's 9:30 at night, I'm going to call you back tomorrow.
Yeah, I think that's great, Karen. I think what this is about is, like you said, for each of ourselves as individuals, right, is defining what our boundaries are and working in the way that you feel comfortable and setting that expectation with our clients. Ultimately, if we're providing good service and we're doing the job diligently, it's going to be fine. It's going to work out. You don't have to use someone else's playbook. You can use your own playbook. So I really like that, Karen. Great advice.
Thank you.
Is there anything else I missed, Karen? Anything else you want to talk about in this day in the life? I appreciate you sharing, all the little things that you do throughout the day.
I can't think of anything else. I know it's kind of boring. It's not like I have this super awesome morning routine, but I just try to remember that it's not all about work and you don't have to work 18-hour days and you don't have to hustle, 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 grind, grind, grind in order to be successful, that you can really decide where do you want to focus your efforts and have a work-life balance. And I especially right now, I see so many agents who just feel like they've got to scramble all day long in order to be successful. And I just think that's the fastest way to burn out and start to really hate your job and not want to do it anymore. So I try to be very conscious of, am I working because I want to, or am I working because I feel like I just have to? And
Yeah.
if that's the case, then maybe the problem is not with the amount of workload that I have. Maybe the problem is up here and I need to do something about the mindset.
Absolutely. And Karen, the reality is that's part of the reason why I wanted to do this series, is that I think there's a misunderstanding, a misperception of what, a high producing agent, somebody who's very successful, does every day, right? And so when you say, oh, my day is kind of boring, right, in a sense, like, I think that's a good thing, right? Because what you're showing is that you can have a great career, right? You can understand, where to focus your time. You can have a life. You can spend time with your family. You can have boundaries. You can sort of have all of those things. So I love that, in a sense, you have a boring life or a boring day, so to speak, right? I think that's a good thing, not a bad thing.
I think so too. It's working well for me, so I'm sticking with it.
Absolutely. Awesome. Karen, as always, thank you so much for your time and for being here to share your story and your day with all of our agentpreneurs out there.
Of course. Thank you, Randy, so much.
All right. We'll talk to you soon. All right. Well, there you have it. Day in the life of Karin Carr. She's a great agent. She's really found and honed her niche, right? Which is YouTube. And she helps agents figure out how to leverage YouTube. So definitely check out her training tools and all of the things that she has available. And she's a mother and she's a wife and she has an awesome dog in the background, Emma, which we didn't get to say hi to. She's got all kinds of really cool stuff going on. And as you heard, right, she's like, it's kind of straightforward. It's kind of boring, but that's a good thing. She's able to craft and design the life that she wants. You don't have to work 24/7 to have a great life in this industry. So I hope you enjoyed that. I hope you enjoyed this series. If you do, please comment below and let us know. And of course, please give Karen a follow and a subscribe and all of those good things, and do the same for us if you feel so inclined. Till tomorrow, be safe, be healthy, be happy. We'll see you soon. Bye.